Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and this is part 2 of my new art journal make. Now if you haven't seen part 1, there's a link to it in the description box below, and also there is another video which is how I made these papers, these tissues for covering this, and that's also in the description box below. So in the first video we did quite a bit and we've made ourselves our cover ready for our new art journal. It's all nice and dry, all ready to go. There are a couple of things, however, I'm not happy with. One I was able to cure, one I wasn't. Now, if you remember, if you saw in part 1, when I put these tissue bees on, I didn't realise these must have been wet strength tissue, so you could see the tissue. So I went in with a little paintbrush and a bit of the same colour paint, just covered that up. The second, and something I can't ignore, is the placement of this bee. I love the bees on the back, I love the bees on the front. However, in my haste to make the video, I didn't put it in the middle. Now, I don't always have to have things in the middle. If it had been slightly over here, I would have accepted that. If it had been further over here, I would have accepted that. But it's so nearly in the middle that it's obvious that I was intending to put it in the middle. Are we getting where I'm going with this? So I've had to come up with some sort of plan to redo this. And also, I do like the tissue, but with it looking like this, it's just lacking something. So I came up with a bit of a plan last night. And what I've done is I pulled out this strip. It's one of the strips of coloured papers that's going to be used in this anyway. And I thought I'd like to stick that down there and then do a panel across the front. So I did have another one of the bees. I stuck it onto another piece of music paper, and this was a spare scrap of paper. And I think I would be far happier if I did that. Okay, so just know that's what I'm about to do. Now, what I do want to do is I do want to make sure it's centralized. I know it probably doesn't have to be for you, but for me, it kind of does. So I just want to make sure that, right, so that's kind of as close as I'm going to get it to being centralized. So I've got a bit of masking tape here. I'm just going to take a bit of, this is low-tack masking tape. I'm just going to put a line of it along there, just so I have some guideline of where the edge is, and then when I come to glue this down, I will start gluing this end, pull that tape off, and then I'll know that's in the right place. This, I don't mind where this goes as long as it's on there. My next question is, how high up or how low do I need this? Now, I need it to be at least this high to cover up the piece underneath, so I think that's probably about it. So again, I'm going to come in, I need something a bit wider this time. Let's see if I've got, right, so if I put this against the edge of the front cover and line that up on there, then if I get the other half of that piece of tape, if it's not stuck to my hand, and these are just rough guides. I know I sound like I'm being really picky about this, and I kind of am to a certain degree, because if this is going to be my new art journal, I'm going to be seeing it on my shelf a lot. I'm going to see it in videos a lot. And you know what? If I'm not happy with the way it looks, there's a really good chance I won't use it. And I want to use it, which is why I make it in the first place. So, right, so if this is going on here, like that, and then I just fancied bringing that in, and the reason I wanted that in there is because it really does accentuate the purple that's already on there. So where should I start? Let's take this off a bit, or else I'm going to get stuck. Right, I need this to be level. Right, once again, I'm going to insert the book block back into this so that it's level, because it's not even worth doing it if I'm not going to do it properly. Right, I just want to double check something, because something doesn't look right to me. That's about 7.5. So that isn't exactly straight, that's what I thought. Sorry, I know this is a bit Ceri's perfectionism kicking in. I can live with that. That's 1/16 out. Good grief, let's live with that, Griffiths. Let's not beat ourselves up. Now I've got matte medium here that I've been using for everything else, so I'm going to use it for this. And I'm going to come in and, yes, I'll do it on a bit of this sticky matte. Now am I in shot for you? If I can pull it over there, I will be. So I have given this a coating of matte medium, so putting more matte medium on here is never a problem. I'm going to put this in place just so I can see the placement of this, because I'm going to put quite a heavy coating of matte medium on the back of this. And then when it's in place, I will then come in. About there will do. I will come in and put a coating over the top. Right. Again, I'm not going to get too hung up on the fact that things are completely straight and square, but I'd like them to be as straight and square as I can get them without giving myself a heart attack. Right. Already I'm liking that because it makes you look at the purple, because currently everything it's just very, very busy is what I'm getting at. Right, so that's going to come across there. So what I can do is, now I've got the cross one on, if I take this one up, stick it down there, just so I know that it's in, I can work from there. Do you see what I mean? So again, I'm going to come on and put a large amount on the back of this. Now this piece of stuff here is newspaper print offcut paper, which I tend to use for cleanups. There's lots of good things about it. There's one or two bad things. The bad things are that once it's down, it's down. Right, are you going to be as close to that? Okay, and also, once you've wet it, it acts very much like gift wrap tissue, in that it can be torn quite easily. But once it's fully dry, it's really robust. So if there's swings and roundabouts with it, is what I'm getting at, guys. So I'm going to give it a good coating of the matte gel medium over the top. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have found if I have a coating of matte gel medium, I can slide my catalyst tool across the top of it without tearing it. You do have to still be cautious, but as long as there's a layer of the matte gel medium to act as a lubricant, it will slide across. Right. I am so much happier with that. So that's dry enough now for me to actually work with without damaging it. It just needs to fully dry. I can still feel it slightly cool, but I'm okay. I can move my hand over the top. I'm so pleased I did that. That for me changed the character a lot. The other thing I've done is I've changed my mind and I've gone for these sort of bronzy, coppery corners that I'm going to put on, but I'm not going to put them on just yet. I'm going to put them on probably the last thing I do. I was going to do silver. I like this colour far better. So, right, let's take this book block out. I should really keep this as a book block. It's a really good weight if I ever want to press anything flat. Now, we obviously know the orientation because these are the right way up and the B is the right way up. What I need to do now, though, is I need to make a template for the middle because I need to work out where my 5 signatures are going to go. Now, luckily enough, this piece of paper isn't a million miles long for that, but I do need to get the width. And by the width, I mean, if I bend it backwards, it's the width here. Let's see if I can find something to point with. Right, it's not this area. It's just this area here, because remember, this is the hinge. So as a test, once I cut a strip, I'm going to sit it in there and it shouldn't buckle up. So I don't mind if it's just ever so slightly smaller. Let's see. Let's start with just fractionally under 1 3/4. So let's cut a strip of that. Now the test is if I lift these up, as you can see, Nothing moves, it's fine. Now I'm also going to come in and I'm going to cut this way, but across the bottom. I want this to be exactly the same height. I'm also at this point going to write the word top. And you may think that's a bit overkill, but sometimes if you're just a fraction off with your measurements, you're going to find that the holes don't line up with the stitching. So let's come in, let's just use the little guillotine for this one. So we're making a template for the center. So as we can see, it absolutely fits perfectly in there. And if I raise the sides, I don't have an issue. Now, we may remember that our pages are smaller. Remember, our pages are approximately the size of the inside pieces. So if I lay this on there, I can see that it's slightly inside. So I'm going to use a ruler. Let's put this over to there. And what I'm going to do with this in place, I'm going to lay my ruler across the top of these pages and draw a line and do the same down here, trying not to move anything, so I'm holding everything with my fingers. Pressing it down. So there you go. So I can already tell by this gap is smaller than this gap, and that's because of the way I built the book. So I was a little bit off with that, but I did eyeball those. Right, this can go to one side a second. Let's stand it up over there, because now we need to start building. Now I'm going to do a version of a 3-hole pamphlet stitch on this, okay, and I need 5 rows. So I'm going to fold this in half, because this will give me my center line. Try, or not try, be as accurate as you can possibly be with your folding. So that's giving me my central line. Come on, back you come. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that line in. Now, because I've got a fold, if I fold this up and hold the ruler in place, that means it should be right down the middle of this. I mean, trying to be as accurate as I can, we're not going to get wound up in the fact that, oh my God, it's not this, it's fine. Now I need to do 2 more lines on the side of that, and I've got almost 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters. So if I did, let's see if I can do it this way. See, if I fold this again, I'm only going to have 3 and I need 5. So this is going to be a little bit tricky. So let's go to millimeters. That's probably easier for me. So if I call that 21 millimeters, 7, 14, 21. So that's 7 millimeters, 7 millimeters. So it's going to be a bit tricky, guys. I need a good point on my pencil, I feel. So if I do 7 millimeters and 7 millimeters, that should give me the spacing that I need and still have a little bit next to the cover. Now I would have a pencil, but today is decided it's not going to be able to be sharpened. That's not going to play nice. Right. Let's see if I've got a mechanical one. I do have a mechanical one. It's probably going to run out of lead soon, but there you go. So I'm going to come in along this line. I'm going to do 7 millimeters. That's 5. That's 7. And do that again. 5 and 7. I'm going to come this way and work. I'm working from the center out is what I'm trying to do. So where's my 7? It's there. 7. Now I've got to try and do that at the bottom again, so bear with me while I just try and do this. It's not easy looking through an iPad try to do this either, so hopefully I will have got this right. Right, now I'm not going to beat myself up if it's wrong, okay? I'm going to use, however, I'm going to use one of my quilting rulers because I've got a better chance of lining stuff up because the lines can be lined up with the central line. So although I don't know exactly the measurement, I can see it's just past there. So if I give this a little tiny bit of a nudge, I can do that. And if I use the same thing again, okay, that's not bad actually. So pretty much what I'm doing is I'm doing 1/4 of an inch. That's kind of how this feels it should be going. Because if I put this on the central line here, it almost exactly lines up. Right, so that has given me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I've left a space either side for the book. That's the way I do it. Now I need to work out where my other measurements are going to be. So I'm going to come down, fold it exactly in half this way, and do what I did before with my ruler. I'm going to put my ruler in here, press it up against the folded paper so it's butt up against it. Then I'm going to draw a line. Now when it comes to the top and the bottom, I know that this is where the top of my page is, so I do want to come down a bit. Now I don't know whether I might just want to do the width of a ruler for ease. What about the width of this ruler? Yes, let's use this. So basically I'm coming up about an inch off the bottom of the template. I'm coming up down about an inch from there. So this has now given us the places where our stitch holes are going to be. Now, I've got this much room at the top of each page. Is that too much? I don't know that it is. So when this is actually sewn in, there'll be a stitch there, a stitch there, and a stitch there. Do I want to do it one more up? I kind of think I do actually. What would... Right, I'm going to come up 1/4 of an inch on each of them. So basically, I will have come in 3/4 of an inch from either end. Now I'm going to put a wiggly line through there so I know that's not the one I want to use. There is no exact science to this, guys. It's absolutely down to experience and preference. Right. So there you go. So now when my page gets put in, my stitch is by there. Okay, I'm better with that now. Right, where are we up to? So this is going to be where our marks need to be. Now, I personally like to come in with a black pen and actually put a mark on the sections of each of these, just in case for some reason I happen to make an error and erase a line or something. At least I don't have to re-find it. It's already there. Okay. Now when it comes time to do the centers of our signatures for holes to be made, this is the guide we're going to use. Now, we know where the top is, but what I'm going to do is on each of these, I'm going to put a little arrow. It's only pencil, I can erase it. It's important for me to know where up is. Now, something else I did when I was cleaning up yesterday, I discovered that I only had 4 more pages of the mixed media paper left over. So I thought, right, let's just go ahead and use them. So this one now has 3 pieces folded. This has 3 pieces folded. The middle one has 2 pieces folded, 3 pieces folded, 3 pieces folded. Just because that's the way it is. Now, when you fold paper, no matter what the thickness, you're going to find that there's some sort of, you can see that, the center pages creep out. If I was doing a journal, I would probably come in and trim all of those flush. However, because we've got some wiggle room in here, even with all of these in situ, they don't come to the edge of this book anyway. I'm not going to worry about that because you never know. I may have something that goes off the edge of these. Right, just put that out of the way. Now, before I start making holes in my book itself, I'm going to fold this back on itself because my first thing is I want to make the marks in here to punch the holes through. I only really need to mark the center one. So I'm going to bring this in, lay it down against my, this probably isn't how I need something to hold this down with. Come here, right. So I'm going to hold it, that's going to hold it down. So as you can see, I know where the center of my spine is. I've lined my top up. Is that the top? Yes, I've lined the top up with the top. The line where it's going to be joining the book. And there. And I'm just going to come in. I'm going to put a mark, a mark, a mark. Double check that you know where those marks are. Well, you've still got things all in place. Because we'll be punching our holes separate to punching the spine. So that's the first one done. Now I'm going to do the same for all of the others. You don't need to watch. I'm going to pause the video and do it. And they're back and those marks transferred all the way through. Now what I need to do now is I want to punch each of these as a whole. So I've got an old book here. I have used this same book for years, as you can see by all the little holes in it. I have a bit of a sewing kit for doing this practice. I bought it on Amazon a very long time ago, like we're talking years. It came with, this is AWL and all, and it came with wax linen threads. I do sometimes use thread that isn't wax linen, and I've got 2 of those. It's quite a heavy duty thread, and I'm still unsure which one of those I'm going to use, but we'll get to that in a moment. Now, I want to come in here, and I want to pre-pierce the holes in this. So I'm just going to come in from above and just press through. So I've started the hole off. Oh, that one was straight through. So now I have all my holes punched. I don't mind that they're not large holes. Okay, at this point, it's okay that they're not large holes because we're going to repunch this in a moment anyway. So coming back to this now, remember the top is at the top. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to clip this into place. So now I've got that in place. This is set to go. Now, when you come to push through something this large, what you're going to find is, first of all, I would say stand up, because standing up is going to give you more pushing down on it. Also, you don't need a huge hole in your piece of thing. All you need is the thickness of your thread and the thickness of your needle. So if we look at the thickness of my needle and we look at the thickness of that, you only need the thickness of the needle and the thread to go through. I'm going to put that somewhere where I don't lose it or stab myself with it. So again, I'm going to come in with my book. I'm going to start in the middle. Let's pull the bottom ones of those out of the way. I'm going to start in the middle, making sure I've got my book nice and firmly underneath it. And I'm going to come in from the top and just press right the way through. You're going to find, because you've got quite a thickness of material you're pushing through, and by material I mean a combination of glue and the fibre that was reinforcing the spine, also the original exterior of the book, as well as the inside we put on. You're going to get this happen. They're all going to stick up. Don't worry about it. Don't just let that bit go. Don't get fazed by the fact that it has to be laying flat. Now I put this up against the edge of my book, and I'm going to do the same thing at the top again. I find that because I pre-made the holes in the paper, if I run my spike across it, my owl, it actually locates those little holes in the paper. It just makes it easier for me. So that's that one done. Just for ease, I'm just going to turn it around the other way so I don't have to be shuffling my video camera around. Now, when it comes to sewing in, you may need to widen one or two of these holes. It's better to have to widen it than have the hole too large to start with. Because if the hole is too large, what's going to happen is your pages are going to get loose. So, as you can see, we've got the little raised pieces on the back. Don't worry about that. Really don't. You can press them down. Once you've got all your sewing in, they're hardly going to be noticed anyway. So let's get that out of the way. So now, fingers crossed, and I know everything's gone through because I can see it on this side. I'm going to take these off. I can see the holes quite clearly. If I couldn't see the holes very clearly, I would come in with a pen and I'd remark them with my pen, just so that I could see them, because it depends on what colour you've done this in as to what colour thread you're using and all of that. So just make sure that you can actually see where the holes are. So now, got that in place, let's take this away and put it to one side. This, you can keep these, guys. I've got a drawer full of these, all different sizes for each of the ones I've done. Sometimes they match, sometimes you've got to make a new one, but it's good. You've done it once, you've done it. Now, when it comes to doing the signatures, and these are called the signatures, you're going to have to work slightly differently with these. You need to make sure that they're flush up against each other. Like, I would tap it a couple of times so that it is actually level top and bottom. I'm going to come in now. It's going to be tricky to show you this, but what you need to do is keep it as folded as you can and then push straight down into it. You don't want to go off to the side. And straight down into it. Now, luckily enough, there's only 2 or 3 sheets of paper here, so refinding the hole when you're sewing them in won't be a problem. If you're doing a journal that has, say, 15 or 20 pages per signature, you might want to clip your pages with a file clip before you start pushing holes through them. So I'm just going to go on and I'm going to do all of those and I will be back. And I'm back. Now, they're all pushed through, as you can see. Leave the pages held together. If you try and separate them and then reline the holes up, it just comes a little bit trickier. So I just want to again check the arrows are going upwards. These both have 3 pages. This one has 2, it's the center one, only because I didn't have a 3rd page. Arrows up, arrows up, arrows up. Put that to one side. Now I have my cover in here and it's in the right orientation. Now, when it comes to sewing in a signature, there are lots of different versions of sewing in signatures. In fact, I know of about 3 or 4 different versions of doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, which is what we're going to do today. It doesn't matter whether you start in which of the holes, as long as you end in the same hole you started with. Also, it doesn't matter whether you start on the inside or the outside. It's your choice. Where do you want that knotted piece of this stuff to be? Whether you want it on the inside or whether you want it on the outside. A lot of the time you'll find with junk journals, they will do all the sewing and then they might put a piece of fabric down here, which I haven't ruled out, mind you, haven't ruled that out. Wherever you leave the knot, there's going to be a raised area. Some people will leave it on the outside as a decorative element. Some people will leave the raised knot on the inside, so it sits in the middle of a signature, and then they'll either tie a charm to it, or they'll tie it in a little bow, or they'll cut it short. Completely up to you. I think I'm going to sew mine so the knots are on the inside, so that I've got a nice smooth look on the outside. Now, me personally, I like to work from the back of the book to the front. So I will sew this one in, and then I will sew the next one in, and then sew on all the way through, because if you start with the top one, you're continually battling. So here we go, guys. I'm going to sew it in white. I was going to sew it in black, but I've changed my mind. I seem to be having a change of mind day as far as everything like this goes. Right, where's the small pair of scissors? There you go. Now, how much thread do you need? You need approximately 3 lengths or 3 heights of your page. I'm usually overly generous. God, Mr. Hollis, your scissors have gone blunt. And they've been cleaned recently, so I know it's sort of chewed its way through that. I may have to find a smaller pair of scissors. There you go. So I'm just going to put it through. Now, it's up to you whether you do a double or a single length ply of this. I'm only going to use 1 thickness. You can use 2 thicknesses. If you're using 2 thicknesses, remember you're going to have more thread. So I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to go through the center hole, take it out the other side. I'm going to go through the center hole of my cover. Now, I will warn you, this is tricky to film. I'm likely to slip in and out of shot, and it's just tricky. So I'm going to pull this all the way through, so I've got a piece of a tail there, okay, enough to be working with. Once I've done that, I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. I'm going to thread it back through the hole, pull that up. I'm then going to come into my signature. Why can't I get you in the signature? There you go. In the signature. Again, pull the thread. You don't need it taut, but you do need it so that you know that there's nothing stopping it. It's pulled along there. I'm then going to go all the way to the top of my signature and out through the top and out through the top hole. Now, it's worth stating at this point, you will see different people do this in different ways. Whatever way they're doing is the right way for them. I do it my way, they do it their way. Everyone has a preference, okay? So don't get hung up on the fact that, oh my God, Ceri did it this way, that person must be wrong. They're not. We're just all different. Now, this is really important. This thread here is going through this hole here. You need to get this back through that hole without putting the thread through your existing thread. Because if you split the thread, which is what it's called, you won't be able to tighten it up. So take your thread and pull it down to the bottom of your signature. Then come in from the top slide it through. Now I may not be able to go all the way through to, there you go. I'm trying not to do the whole thing in one go on purpose. So now if I give this a little tug, I can feel it still freely moves around. I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to hold this. Come here, my fingers won't grip. Hold this and come in again through the signature. So now, pulling it through, everything should be able to be moved. So if I was pulling this here, as you can see, threads are still moving. I can still tighten stuff up. That's what you want to happen. Now, you'll note that, I hope you can see a white and white, I just realised, I've got threads down here in the central thread there. Thread one of the threads to the other side. So this runs down the middle and these split the difference. I don't know what's wrong with my fingers. I've just been, my fingers are really dry for some reason. Give it a bit of a tug to make sure that this is as tight as you can get it without tearing your paper. I usually do one knot and then I tend to pull upwards and I give it a bit more of a tighten. I've only done one knot so far. These are fairly tight. I'm happy enough with that. Over time, the thread may stretch slightly anyway. Give it another thread, another pull, and I'm just going to do one more knot for luck, which is just what I do. So I've got 3 knots. Now, this is the first signature sewn in. As you can see, it's still quite tight on the outside edge. Not a problem there. I don't normally have problems with stuff coming undone, but that will depend on how much the book is open or closed. I am going to cut, leaving about 2 inches spare, just in case, because if something goes wrong, I could always unpick that knot and tighten it further as time goes by. So, again, just repeat the process. So I'm not going to make you sit through all that. I'm going to do a quick talk through and then I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to sew them all in because I'll be far quicker than you don't need to see a repeat. So I've gone from the inside through the central hole, through the spine and out. I then went back in the bottom hole, back in through that hole. Here, I went all the way straight to the top, through here, through the spine and out, and then I came back in the hole I started, through there, put this thread either side of the central line, tied it, gave it a bit of a pull just to make sure it's fully tight, give it another tighten, and I did 3 knots, and that's how I'm putting my signature in. And as you can see, it's placed equally between the top and the bottom. It's all nice and secure. And I'm just going to do this now so I remember. So once it's tied in, I'm just going to erase that mark because I don't need to see it anymore. And we're done with that section. So as you can see, they're all sewn in, all nicely lined up. I actually like that look on the spine. If you've done your measurements properly, as you can see, you end up with parallel lines. I think that's a really nice feature. Inside we have all of them sewn in. I've got room between the signatures for things to bulk out a bit. They're all turning quite nicely. It's mixed media paper, it's heavy duty paper, so there's always going to be a slight stiffness to it, but as you're working in it, it's going to become more and more relaxed. Now, I did mention don't split your thread. I can't remember whether I told you what to do if you do split your thread. So say you pulled the needle back through and the needle went through the existing thread and you went, oh, I can't tighten it. Don't panic, you've not ruined it. Take your needle off that thread, put it to one side, turn the page back over and pull the thread back out. Everything else will be okay. Then rethread your needle and just try again. Okay, so there's no need to panic about that one. So I think the next thing I'm going to do, and then I can clear the decks for the decorating bit then, is I'm going to put on the book corners. Now, these are just book corners that I get on eBay. I think you get them on Amazon. I like the ones that have got this fold that you squeeze together. they're my favorite because I never know what size, what thickness the cover is going to be, and some of them are already at a certain thickness. These are the ones I like the best. I would say, however, when you're looking for metal book corners on the internet, say you search eBay or Amazon, put in metal book corners, whether you want brass, silver, multiple, whatever. And when they come up, what the search engine is going to show you is the one they want to promote. So maybe there's going to be 4 of these for, say, £1. Scroll down and get your calculator out, because I know further on down you may find that there's a box of 50 of them for £5. Do you know what I mean? So just really look through. I also made the mistake when I bought them. I bought, I think it was something like 50 in this color, 50 in shiny gold and 50 in shiny silver. I don't use the shiny gold, I don't use the shiny silver. I've always used these. If you've got the shiny versions, apparently you can color them down and tarnish them with alcohol inks. Not something I work with very often because the fumes from the alcohol inks are not good for my asthma, so I tend not to use them that often, but do know you can age stuff with alcohol inks. So I won't put a link in because it'll depend on where you are in the world as to what the availability is, but I would say 99% of them come from China. So if you've got access to anything from China, that's where you're going to find them coming from. So I'm going to start working from the back first, just in case I have any issues. Now, I use a small flat-nosed pliers because I need to be able to squeeze these together. I squeeze them with my thumb first of all, but then I can squeeze them with this afterwards. Some people don't like doing that because they say they mark the corners. I don't give a damn about marking my corners. I've never had a problem with the marking. If you really do want to protect them, you can always put a little bit of felt, like glue a bit of felt there or a bit of felt there, and it'll just cushion them. As I said, I've never had a problem. I'm not that precious about things like that. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac. You can use whichever glue you wish that you think is going to do the job. I'm just going to put a bit of it in here. Sorry, it's blocked up. A little bit of in here. I don't want it to be squeezing out, but I do want a little bit on either surface because then that surface will grip to the book. I'm going to lie it down and push it in really firmly so you can see it's embedded in place. I then give my first squeeze with my thumb and my finger. I know that I haven't got the strength to squeeze them totally, so I'll come in and I give them a really good squeeze with my pliers, working from the inside to the outside. And then just for good measure, I give one squeeze in the middle. It'll depend on the book cover and how much quality is, whether you get them fully squared in, because some book covers are not square to start with. So if you end up with a little bit of an overhang like there and there, it's the book cover, it's not you, okay? But because it's got glue on, the glue will protect it. So I'm just going to quickly do that with all of these. So that's how I created my new journal. Now I'm going to start, as I said, gluing stuff to the inside of it now. So if all you wanted to see was actually the journal made, then you're done. But if you want to see how I'm going to develop the pages, just so I have something that's partially decorated to start with, hang around and I will show you. I'm going to do something probably on every single page. Okay, so it's time to partially decorate these pages. As I said, I'm going to put pieces, I'm not sure yet. Even if I just put one piece per page, then when I come back to that page, this piece that I stuck down, or pieces that I've stuck down, will flavor or influence the page I'm about to create. And also it means I'll reduce some of the stuff in this box. So I need to make sure I've got a variety of stuff though, so I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. So I'll move this over here. And actually thinking about, while I'm here, the more I look at these corners, the more I'm unsure those were a good idea. Now, it could be my perfectionism kicking in, but I don't like the fact that there's a little bit of an edge on the corners. And that was because the cover was thicker than the corners could take. So if you see this in the future, I may have altered that by taking them off and maybe taking some of this and putting a corner piece on each of the corners. Don't know, don't want to do that on screen because I haven't yet. I like these corners, but I don't feel right about these corners. Does that make sense? So I'm just going to open up and I'm going to start at page 1. Right, if I put that by there, can you see it? You can. Right, I've got going to have magazine pages on this side, and I'm going to be gluing in with my regular glue stick. I am not going to use matte medium to do this. If anything starts to lift off in the process of creating this when I come to it, then I can easily work it out from there. So if I put the lid under there, that will support the top half. Now there, that's better. I like that. So if anything does start to lift off, I can always put a bit of matte medium underneath it when I'm actually creating the pages. So I'm literally going to start on page number 1. And I'm going to pull in all of the scrappy bits that were generated by my challenge, which is hashtag Mixed Media March 25. This isn't part of that challenge. This is me just rounding things out. So these are what I've got, and I'm going to pull in things that look similar. Now, I'm not going to fast forward any of this. I'm not sure I'm going to film all of this, but what I will do is I will film, at the end of this, I will do a bit of a flip through of all of the pages, just so in case I have actually fast forwarded or cut pieces out, because I'm very conscious of video length. And at the end of the day, sticking a bit of paper down is sticking a bit of paper down. What you'd really like to see is how it all ended up. And then I'm assuming at the end of it, not on this video, but at the end of the whole process, you're going to expect to see me using this art journal in the future. I probably am. How quickly, I don't know. Do you see what I mean? I don't know whether I'm going to immediately start working in it, whether I'm going to sit it on the shelf for a little while and come back to it, whether I'm going to wait. I could even wait till next year and actually use it for my challenge then, although I think when I did the math, there's only 31 surfaces, only 28 surfaces in this, so I would have to build in a couple of flaps or flips or inserts to be able to do other things. But that's not a problem. Right, so I pulled all of these out. They're very, very similar to each other. I'm going to be just tearing with a plain metal ruler. I'm not going to be... come on, Griffiths, get your brain together. I'm not going to be using any fancy tear rulers or anything like that. I'm literally going to put it onto my board, use the grid here, and just tear pieces. So, and I want that because the slightly rough edges are sometimes easier to deal with. I do quite like this bit. Don't want it that big. I don't want it that big. So this has been an interesting little make for me. Just a little bit of something, just using up stuff, and that was my whole point about this. Don't want a third piece. If I move that by there and put that down there. Right, there is no right and there is no wrong way to do this. I need to remember, this is basically, I need to forget that I'm composing something. I'm literally just sticking pieces of scraps down so that they don't end up in a box or a drawer and I don't forget to use them. And then when I do bring this art journal into play, it means I've got something that's starting the pages off. Now, I don't want to have to be trimming anything sticking over the edges, so I'm going to make sure I've got them stuck down in the first place, in the right position. Right, I did like this. That is okay. Yes, it is okay. So, yeah, it's just, I've seen other designers, like some of the bigger guys, as I said. Diane Reevely definitely has her art journals where she's decorated one page, decorate the left-hand page, and you have to decorate the right-hand page. I know that Dina Wakely has at least her Ledger art journal. I think she might have another one as well. I'm not sure whether Jane Davenport in Australia has anything along this these lines. I wouldn't be surprised because Jane is a bit of a savvy businesswoman, and she makes wonderful art, and I'm like, I wouldn't be at all surprised if she hasn't got something like this. I very much avoid trying to buy stuff if I think I can make it, because I get really stuck into the fact that I like my stuff to be uniquely mine. Right, now I'm going to go to the edge at the spine, but I'm not going to go completely to the edge for the spine, because if I do that on all the pages, I'll then be bulking out the spine. So I'm going to leave, as you can see, probably about 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters, just enough to give me clearance. So that's the idea for page 1. Right, now it's going to need a little trim on that, I don't mind that. So I've done one in the front. I'm going to come to the back, and I'm just going to choose a page, and I'm going to put another purple one in. Let's get this folded up. My hands must be really dry lately. I don't know what it is. I can't seem to pick up paper. It's a bit scary, isn't it? Especially when you work with paper all the time. I really like that little bit. Now, I must be aware they don't all need to go in exactly the same place on every single page, because you know me, creature of habit, I will make every page look the same unless I'm very, very careful. You can go on there. Actually, is this the last page? No, it's not the last page. Okay. Try and get to the edge without getting too tied up with it. Now, there's nothing saying I can't have one tall. Oh, that's a bit from Rondadona. That's her fleur-de-lis. I like that sense. Let's put a bit of that on here. I also don't have to be putting these pieces around the edges. I can put them smack in the middle if I want. So if I put you there, you're okay. Hopefully you're centered. If you're not, there's probably going to be something collaged around you anyway. Let's see if I've got something that's a bit of a strip. I don't mind that. I think I need to tear that down a bit, however. Where's the ruler gone, guys? What did I do with the ruler? I buried it under something else, obviously. Right. I come in here. Oh, it's a beautiful sunshine coming through the window. I spent all of yesterday in the garden, not doing anything other than basically pulling weeds out, digging stuff over, just that sort of the maintenance side of gardening. And I'm going to do a little trip to the garden centre next week because there's 1 or 2 plants I want and I really fancy putting them in. So I'm trying to turn the garden into more of a little haven for me. I really like my garden. And when my sister ran her dog boarding business from home, which was fine, that's exactly what she should do. I mean, I run my business from home. Because she was a dog boarder, basically, all of her guests destroyed my garden. So over the years of her running her business, it turned from a beautiful garden into pretty much a dog pound. And now that business is no longer in existence, I'm taking the opportunity to re-establish my garden. So many of you have asked whether I could show my garden. I could. I'm unsure I want to. Because it's an important space to me. Maybe I feel I want to keep it as a private sort of space for me. So just bear with me. I will consider it. Let's put it that way, guys. I will consider it. Right, let's look through another colour scheme. I like this sort of colour, so let's bring in things that look similar to that. And then once I've done this, I will start going through the larger piles or the pages in the thing, in this box to see what I need to pull out. That might work. Need another bit of that. If I'm going to have one bit, I need to have more than one bit. I think what I'll do is I'll just do this one more page. And then, as I said, I will turn the camera off, complete this side. not considering doing something on the reverse side. If there was something I learned from working with this paper before in my concertina journal, I found if I did anything wet on this side, the reverse side would buckle or bend. And you know what? This is not for a challenge. This is for me. So I'm going to take the opportunity to only use this side. If I find something and I want to stick it on there, I can. I'm not going to rule out things. Let's put it that way. Just take that out of the way. Come on. I loved this bit when I made it. There's one or two marks on it I don't love, but I think we can work around that. So it's just an idea anyway, doing this, whether or not it's something I enjoy when I start working in it, I don't know. It'll be what it'll be. Take that off there. Just trying to annihilate that a little bit. And if I take one thinner strip, and I don't mind this over the whole thing. I think I'm just going to use those three on that page. There's something about that color scheme that just brings me joy to look at it. It's wonderful. I very much like using teal, turquoise, terracotta, greens. I like green, like a green gold or a lime or quite a vibrant green really works for me. Put you right in the middle there, I think. And just line you up so you're slightly in line with something. And even though I don't like pink, occasionally I like to put pink into my design. Can you see? You can see into my designs, just because I can. But it has to be a certain shade of pink. I'm not really into the Barbie sort of color pink, but there is some really nice dusky vintage looks. Actually, this needs to be in half. I can't have it that big. Some really nice vintage dusky sort of pinks that work for me. Right, that'll do. This can go back into the pile. I'm trying to find the bit I haven't put glue on. Right. You can go there. Let's just see this kind of parallel to the edge of the page. It is. So right, as I said, I am going to now pause the video. I will come back to you afterwards and give you a flip through, but there's a bit of a mess. I got glue on that one. But if I tried to do this whole book, it would be like a 2-hour video. So bear with me, I'll be back in 2. So here we are finished. Took me about half an hour, 45 minutes to put pieces in. I've ended up with a huge amount of scraps because I knew I was never going to use them all up anyway. So maybe there's going to be a few masterboards in my future, but let's do a bit of a flip through. Let's see if I can zoom in so you can see it. The challenges of this for me are now, I have no fear of a blank page because there is no blank page. It'll challenge me to incorporate the colors and maybe the patterns and shapes already on there. Now I've only put squares or rectangles in here because that way I will be able to decorate around them. However, that doesn't mean in the future I won't put fussy cuts on it or circles. I'm likely to use my circle stickers in here, but if I put a circle into the background, I'm going to have the devil's own job trying to put something around it. So let's just have a look. So as you can see, so this means I now have all of these elements as inspiration plus the color, or I can use complementary colors, or I could use the colors to actually make up these colors. I could use dots. I could come in with white gesso and gesso the whole flipping thing and not even bother with it. Do you see what I mean? So I've got choices. So I'm just going to do a quick flip through because this isn't finished art. This is just me sticking something onto a page so I don't have to deal with a blank page. Like that one, to me it feels very Christmas. Will this end up as a Christmas spread or will it not? Am I going to connect these? Am I going to use elements from here as this piece? I don't know. Are they stuck? No, they're not stuck. I do love this colour combination too. Again here, what's this going to be? Is it going to become two presents? Is it going to be something, two backgrounds to have something stuck in there with? So this one, didn't put it in the straightest, but you know what, that's actually fine. I let that one go because there's going to be stuff around it. I can straighten that back up with whatever I put over the top or down the sides. Simple, but it's still inspiration for potentially the rest of the page. Now, if I get really carried away, I could always take that design to the other side. Not my intent, but I don't know yet. I haven't started working in it. I really liked this, so there's a lot on here. And my thing is with this, it means that either I'll put finer detail between it or I'll do stuff that overlays it. Maybe there's a tissue design goes over the top or even napkin or even, I don't know. I really don't know at this stage. See, I like this idea. This is just stacked. So it's just giving me a really good sounding board to stuff things onto. And when you think everything in here, all of the pages were the spare pages from the challenge. All of the arty pages were spare pages from the challenge. All I've really spent is some time and some effort. Even the cover only cost me 99 pence. And even that has given me this huge block of fussy cutting that I can use for other things. Yeah, I'm really liking this. It's an interesting place to start because instead of starting with a blank page, then I create a background, then I put in a focal point. It's almost as if I'm starting with a focal point and I have to work backwards. Not the way I normally work. You never know. It might be an absolute pile of poo, or it might be absolutely wonderful. I tried to choose a variety of colours in here. There you go. So that's my make, guys. That's going to be quite substantial when I finish putting all of the other artwork in there. As I said, I might change the corners. The jury's out on that. I love the bees on the back. I like the bumblebee on the front. I'm so pleased I redid this because it was very much bothering me. But I enjoyed that. I look forward to working into that. So guys, I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time, goodbye now.